The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we're a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in horror franchises. And today we will be discussing Child's Play from 1988. This is the first time we've turned it over to you, dear listeners, and put our fate in your hands, and everybody responded on Instagram. And so thanks for that. That was like watching election results come in, and just as important, just saying, go Michael Myers, go Chucky.
America spoke up and said, we want to hear two grown men talk about dolls.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, our other podcast where we do that is huge.
Yeah.
Does way more numbers than this, where we talk about American Girl dolls like they were Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
There is some drama.
Yeah. What I love about Beth is that she'll just wear anything.
Right. Just plucked off the shelf. But yeah, just as important as politics, couldn't be any worse. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chucky 2028.
Take that, Chucky. Yeah. Anyway, no, we put up there Halloween, The Conjuring, Child's Play, and
something else
that I've already forgotten. But Scream. Yeah.
Oh, the Scream.
Yeah,
right.
Mr. Ghostface. So yeah, this one won out. So if you're mad, just wait till the next one, but don't unsubscribe.
That's weird.
Yes.
That's weird. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Right. But no, that was fun. I enjoyed watching the horse race to see who was out in front, and yeah, it was our beloved Chucky. So as always, with the beginning, the first episodes in a series, how many of these have you seen, John? Do you know?
I've seen a few of them. Probably the majority of them at this point, largely thanks to Anthony Hudson and queer horror at the Hollywood Theater.
Yeah.
Because it became a Valentine's Day tradition that they would show a Child's Play movie, and my partner Hazel and I would go.
Fantastic.
See it all the time.
Yeah. I know I've seen the first two and then just sort of a smattering of others, but I'm not entirely sure. I feel like this will be kind of like watching them for the first time for me. I don't have a huge command of the lore or any. I know that it goes silly towards the latter half, and I am all for that. Of course, we're thinking about the last couple of big ones that we've done, being Hellraiser and Texas Chainsaw, and if we're gonna spend 6 months with somebody, might as well be a foul-mouthed doll that's funny.
Why not? Yeah.
Again, not to say that I don't love all the Texas and the Hellraisers, but it's a different vibe. But I'm sure that I saw this when I was a kid on cable. I mean, Chucky is so in horror pop culture. I mean, he even like gives out awards on award shows at times in the early 90s. Not saying it was the Oscars necessarily, but he very much had his Freddy time in the spotlight. Yeah,
he came in at an interesting time because by this time Freddy had usurped Jason's status as the go-to slasher in the slasher era, the golden age of slashers. That already had gotten kind of like bigger and a little bit more ridiculous. And in fact, Kevin Yeager that worked on this one got picked up to work on this one from his work on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. So it's like, it's already kind of built in now that slashers are going to be a little bit bigger and more ridiculous. Like that's what people want out of it. And so this shows up. It's like, no, it's a doll that kills you and tries to stab you. I think this first one, while not being as silly as what it certainly becomes, has elements of humor, but it's still a very creepy movie.
Yeah. I mean, there's some shots in here that are genuinely creepy, having to do with just the way that they film Chucky. Like the choices that they make before they reveal him completely, I think really adds to that dread. Also, the performances in this, particularly Catherine Hicks, who you may know from Star Trek 4. She really helps to, I don't want to say ground this killer doll movie, but I don't know, like between her and the kid who plays Andy, I think they're both really solid, and it helps sell the whole movie.
Yeah, all the performances in this are pretty dang solid. Obviously, Brad Dourif as Chucky is a big standout, and that's the journey to get to Brad Dourif doing the doll's voice is kind of a funny one. They went through a lot of different changes there, including recording a version with Jessica Walters from Arrested Development and Archer, among other things. But that's more recently what she was up to. But the cast is great. It's well put together. Like, in fact, the watching a bunch of commentary for it, they really kept praising the editor, Edward Warshilka. He's responsible for the ending shot, and there are certain bits that shouldn't work, but they make them work.
Yeah.
I guess I'll put it that way.
That's a great case of a surgical nature of editing, just making sure that a shot doesn't linger like a half a second too long, or the magic trick of a walking doll is ruined. I think it's a lot of that.
And I mean all the puppetry that went into it, like they were kind of forging new paths with animatronics. Kevin Yeager and his team, there were like, I think 12 puppeteers total. There were like 3 different ones just for the face.
How cool.
And it's still holds up. It's still really impressive.
100%. The other thing that I was reading about with the editing is, they said that there was a cut that was 2 hours long, which seems like way too long for a movie like this. However, sometimes I wonder if in the age of internet trivia, especially about longer cuts that are supposed to be like maybe better or hidden gems or something like that, people don't understand what like a work cut is, or like, here is all the footage strung together. Like, versus a finely tuned, edited story done well. There's reasons stuff gets cut a lot of times. It's not just arbitrary, but the producer, David Kirshner, told the story about being at a very early test screening where it was not going well. And in fact, at the end, when there's just a piece of the doll, spoiler alert, they beat the doll. Yeah. There's like a piece of the doll, someone in the audience, like a cop's going to touch it. Someone in the audience was like, don't touch the doll, otherwise there might be a sequel. And he's like, that crushed me. That hurt so bad. God. After spending, all this time and all this money, and, this movie had a budget of like $18 million or something like that, which seems like crazy for a Chucky movie these days. But one of the commentary tracks I listened to with Kirshner and Mancini, he just says, these days they would have sent us to Eastern Europe to film a movie like this. And I was just like, oh gosh, take that, Wishmaster and Hellraiser
Fright Night and Hellraiser all of them.
So this is back when, studios were okay with spending $15-18 million on a first horror movie. And I'd love to know, a lot of that went to shooting in Chicago, which originally the script was set in kind of like a more Spielberg suburban location. Yeah. But let's go to the big city for this one. And I think that worked out.
I think it's great. And I think it for the story it's telling, the story of the mom and the family kind of being in a more urban setting, I think works better than if it was just they were in the suburbs somewhere.
Totally. The Mancini commentary track that I listened to was really interesting because he does a very good job at pointing out places where the movie did not reflect his original script, which is the curse of being a screenwriter. Absolutely. Right. But it did get to the point where, and he said it several times in a very judicious way, I was not on set for a lot of this shoot. And it turned out that he was barred from set because him and the other writer got so upset with Tom Holland for making so many changes that there were lawsuits involved and all that stuff. It has since been settled. But in the heat of the moment, Mancini was a young guy wanting to make his mark, and here comes Tom Holland, who I am not at all going to paint as a villain here. He was just like, he had more juice and he was more experienced. Yeah,
the studio did not want to give, like, they liked this script, all right, because David Kirshner was looking for something about, is always been terrified by dolls, I guess. Want to do something about a killer doll, and someone shared Don Mancini's script with him. They're like, oh, I like this, I don't like this. But didn't really trust a new writer to do it all. So like, we're just going to turn it over to someone that we know. And that was actually John LaFia, who comes back and directs, I believe, the second one.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But then because Tom Holland was involved for a bit, but then he left to go do Fatal Beauty, which is where he met Brad Dourif. And then in that time, it went to John LaFia and then came back to Tom Holland. And Tom Holland is the one that responsible for making it a voodoo thing. Because Don Mancini's a little bit more like Larry Cohen's The Stuff, where it was this criticism of marketing and particularly like towards children. And part of it involved that the toy, one of the gimmicks of the toys was that it would bleed.
I love that.
It was full of blood because it was as you mentioned, the movie was called Blood Buddies. And if you play with a doll too rough, it would bleed. And then you would have to go buy Blood Buddies brand Band-Aids to go put on the doll to help heal it. seems like it's just busted at that point, but
Right.
whatever. And then the kid does a blood brother thing with the doll. They slit their thumbs, and the kid's upset because his parents are divorced. And so then the doll starts acting as his id and going out and killing people that he doesn't like while he sleeps.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit like this 1987 movie called Retribution, where a guy gets taken over by a serial killer who like takes over his body while he sleeps.
Oh, interesting.
But like they didn't like that because it made Andy seem so much less likable, so much of a protagonist, where it's like, he's wishing death on all these people. And yeah, they changed it after several rewrites. It became a serial killer possesses the soul of a doll, I guess.
Okay, with where these movies end up going and just like the inherent silliness of it, I don't mind the voodoo stuff, even though it does feel disconnected from the rest of the movie. But do I want something? I mean, I'm not going to call it serious, but like the idea of Andy's id coming to life and killing people does seem a little bit more heady, Yeah. And maybe only because we're using the phrase id. So it automatically sounds like, college book learning.
It's psychological.
Yeah.
Not just going ghosts.
Right. So yeah, I'm a little torn on which one I prefer.
I think overall in this, they handle that voodoo element better than say Maniac Cop 3. But it is kind of silly, but it's also just like, let's get this out of the way. Yeah. I think the scene where actually Chucky's first real big scene where he confronts his voodoo mentor. Yeah. That is a little silly compared to the rest of it. Like what we saw in some of the Jason movies where it's like, it doesn't matter. He's alive now. Yeah. Let's just get this out of the way. He got shocked by a thing. Trust me, that worked. Right. It just provided a convenient, let's just get this going. Totally. And they covered it up with a giant explosion. So it's like, that's fine. Sure. I got to watch a toy store get blown up. So that's great. And the scene in which he goes to talk to the voodoo priest, I suppose. I do love how Candyman that all looked with the giant murals on his wall. And like, I was just like, oh, is this a Clive Barker Chicago? Yeah, but that's like, I guess that's just the thing you do in Chicago. You paint giant murals on your walls. Yeah, that obviously begs the question, especially with the way Chucky disposes of the voodoo priest, like, why does he not make other just dolls that he can then there is something poetic about Chucky then making dolls out of humans to then destruct, not nearly as cool as slashing, but the way they kind of get by that, because when he confronts his voodoo priest master, whatever, that taught him how to do this. Kills him by, well, it's a very silly scene because the guy's like,
because you're an abomination. An outrage against nature! You perverted everything I've taught you and used it for evil, and you have to be stopped! You're an abomination, and then like gets on the phone. Like, who's he calling? Who's going to stop? But whatever. And Chucky finds this voodoo doll of his, like use it to break the guy's legs and all this stuff. But I like the idea of him having his own voodoo doll, like, I wrote my name on a bullet. That means this is the one with my name on it, so I'm keeping it. Totally. Yeah. He's like, I have my juju. No one else can do it. Yeah. I don't know anything about voodoo, so that makes sense to me. Right. Yeah. Why does he keep his own voodoo doll just lying around his apartment? Could be a good weight loss tool. Like he makes it like he feeds it ice cream and then he doesn't get the calories, but he's like, man, that's good ice cream. Ooh, yeah. You're selling me, man. Voodoo Ozempic. I'm on board. Patent pending. Voodoo don't steal my idea. Ozempic. Right. Doesn't Ozempic have like a weird like side effect too? Like it does something to your face or something, man. Like we could get really horror movie with this. Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's sort of like the subset or like Beauty or whatever that they just did on Hulu. A Ryan Murphy joint. Yeah. So you could do that, but less annoying, maybe. Yeah, ooh. Ow. But there is one shot in that sequence where he goes to see the voodoo priest where Chucky just literally just stands up. And on the commentary, Mancini was just like, yeah, that took half a day just to animate Chucky standing up. So anytime that you think something looks a little bit goofy or something in these, I just give it so much grace because how hard it was, especially in 1988 to pull this off. Well, like most people watching the puppetry, my first thought was about Theodore Rex.
Oh, yes.
The Theodore Rex was a movie with Whoopi Goldberg where she is partners with a dinosaur in a dystopian future for some reason.
I mean, that is such a great tag. Just clip that right there.
Yeah.
Sold. Movies. Hollywood.
Yeah. Guy in a bag. Sold.
Guy in a bag.
But
yeah.
It repeatedly there were animatronic problems on that, and Whoopi Goldberg infamously was a jerk about it.
Yeah.
And that can be tough. Like Chris Sarandon talked about, being upside down in the car after the car chase and being like, you have to set it up again because maybe the light didn't glint off the knife exactly the right way. But it's like, we all got through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're dealing with a lot of, not only do you have a child actor, but then on top of that, you're dealing with all kinds of special effects, puppeteering and stuff like that, which is as impressive as it all was, the amount of different Chuckies they had to do different things. Those still aren't going to work 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And you have to reset with that. And that could take a long, long time. And that was particularly running up against issues between Tom Holland and David Kirshner in terms of the amount spent with the doll, the amount you see the doll on the screen. That was a huge thing.
Right.
But also just that takes up a lot of your shooting days is just getting that set up and getting that work. Like, because the apartment that you see was shot on a soundstage and it's 4 feet above the ground. So technicians could get underneath it to
Muppet
do all the puppet stuff. Yeah. And so that just always all these extra costs involved in it.
Yeah. And then you spend an hour on an approach and then you're finally like, well, this is not working. We have to restart. We've just lost an hour. Now we have to do it in a different way.
It presents all kinds of challenges, but I think they do, like I said, the puppeteering in this and the animatronic is so great. Brad Dourif's performance helps sell it too. But I think also in that scene where he meets the voodoo priest guy, that's the first time we really see Chucky in full motion. He's just doing a giant exposition dump, but it works because you're kind of like, wow, look at him go. Look at that. That's pretty cool.
Right.
I'm sorry, because at this time in particular, animatronics was just Hall of Presidents at Disney World or Epcot or wherever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Showbiz Pizza, Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh.
So that level of detail was very impressive.
Right. And at times they had a little person named Ed, who is an actor, and he had been in a few commercials and stuff like that. And so what they would do is they built a set. I always love this kind of stuff. They built a set that was 30% larger.
Yes.
And it's just that forced perspective. And then how do you edit in shots of that between, the 30% larger set? How do you make that match a shot with your regular set? Like that's some wizardry.
Yeah. And Ed Gale, who plays the live action Chucky, I really like the way he moves.
Yes.
Because they couldn't have him just operate like a regular person because then it'd be pretty obvious because the doll's a lot choppier. So he has some of that choppy movement. And there's a great shot later on in the movie where the camera is low following him. You see his shadow and he's just doing this weird like stalking that is very kind of stuttery that really helps sell it.
Right.
And yeah, that's a feature I like too, is talk about how well this was put together, is that it's got that typical slasher POV from your Mike Myers and your Jasons, but it's low to the ground. So it kind of is a different feel to the whole thing.
Sure. I'm sure this will become more apparent as the series goes on. But of course, I'm just watching this being like, all right, so is he just going to slash a whole bunch of Achilles tendons? Like, how is he going to get a person down to his level or get up to their level or, whatever? And I'm sure that they'll have to mess with that through 7 or 8 films going forward. Yeah.
I mean, they find a way. Like, I think that's part of the scare when he first attacks the babysitter.
I love this.
Because hits her in the head and you're not, well, wait, he's tiny. How'd that happen?
Yeah.
Charles Lee Ray, the killer that gets sucked inside of Chucky or swaps his soul with Chucky, is known as a strangler. He's the Lakeshore Strangler. And so, Chucky can't just strangle. Right. He's got tiny hands.
Tiny hands. Yeah.
So they managed to have him kill people in a bunch of different creative ways. Although there's not that many deaths. As Tom Holland says, if you kill someone at the end of Act 1, you don't have to kill someone until Act 3 because it's serious. Yeah. So you can just, the threat is there.
That shows Tom Holland's maybe bona fides as a horror man, but not necessarily a slasher man,
Right. Yeah. Because this plays out a lot more like a thriller. Less so of a whodunit, which is what the original one was a little bit more like, of who's killing these people. Right away it's Chucky.
Yeah.
And you're kind of you're watching someone with a bomb basically the whole time, being like, well, when's this going to happen? When's this going to go off? So that tension is always there. And then when they figure out that it is Chucky, then it's the sort of chase. There are certain scenes like him in the back of the car that could just be in a thriller movie. Like it doesn't really matter that he's a doll. I mean, it does when he gets under the seat, but it's like you can see some of the stuff playing the same way just with a regular guy.
That first kill of killing the babysitter, I really like because there's that element that comes into play a little bit later where somehow like flour gets dumped and there are little tiny footprints in the flour on the countertop and on the ground. And I know it's a little easy and maybe even cheesy, but I just love the idea of like that does feel ominous to me. Like the babysitter just got murdered and there's somebody's footprints and they're tiny. Right. And it's even smaller than Andy's feet or something to that effect too.
Yeah. What's going on there? Even though Andy's shoes have the same pattern on them. That's weird.
I love that the cop is just like, I already checked Andy's closet. So he was already just like, maybe we have a murderous child on our hands and I'm going to go right to that. But you know, it's smart.
Which I love. There's one shot in this that just cracked me up every time I've seen it. After the babysitter is killed, the babysitter is killed in a very silly way because it's this great. I mean, it's very tense. Yeah. Leading up to it, you get her point of view for a bit, looking for Chucky, and that actress, by the way, Dinah Manoff, you might know from Empty Nest. If You Are My Grandma,
I was going to say
it was a spinoff of Golden Girls, right? And my grandma had a big crush on Richard Mulligan, so she watched a lot. Anyway, but she's Dinah Manoff, a Tony Award winning actress, very good in this, and I like. Quick aside, I like the addition because it was just a babysitter first, but I like the addition that she's a friend of Catherine Hicks.
Me too.
Not only as it provides a more emotional tie between the two of them, but it's also like it underlines Catherine Hicks's character. Like, I don't have money for a babysitter. Can you just do this?
Totally.
Can you just, like I've had friends who are like, no, I'll just watch your kid for you. You got to go to work. That's fine.
Yeah.
It makes everything feel a little bit more like lived in, I guess. But anyway, Chucky hits her in the head with a hammer. She walks back like 20 feet and then flies out of a window. Christine Hicks comes home. Karen comes home, gets in the apartment. There's cops everywhere. And there's just one shot of these cops just like standing there. And one's got his feet up and is reading the paper.
That was my favorite cop shot by far.
I love it. Because it's also just like all the cops are here. Yeah, they're pretty useless. Yeah. But they're all here.
Yeah, the one guy reading the newspaper just absolutely cracked me up. Like, all right. Glad we have 7 cops in this apartment. I guess maybe just Chris Sarandon's going to be the only one doing some investigating. And what's he doing? He's looking at kids' shoes in the closet. To rule that out. So Chris Sarandon, we last saw him with Tom Holland in Fright Night. So he went from playing vampire to Chicago cop. Yeah. I do think that he elevates the role. But the role is pretty straightforward. He's just
there's not much to it.
He's just kind of like cop. He's not going to believe the mom at first. And then he finally comes around after almost getting impaled in the butt by a knife and his car run off the road. But I still like him. And maybe it's just one of those cases of like, I like that guy, so I like seeing him there.
It's that you just put a good actor in a somewhat thankless role and they're still able to do something with it. Yeah. I even think about his character that he played on Deep Space Nine.
Oh,
there's definitely more to it there, but I think, Chris Sarandon really brings a lot to it. Or even Prince Humperdinck, like, could just have been a big drop. But I like that. He imbues it with such life. Yeah, the car scene. Yeah, we brought up a couple of times where Chucky attacks him in the car, and that's what makes the detective realize that it's the doll. Why doesn't he just stop? I know. Not to be cinema scenes, but like that, it was driving me. Yeah, driving is the right word, but like it was making me crazy because it's like he didn't stop the brakes. Like if he's choking you, just stop.
Right. He tries to do it once, but by that point, Chucky is like put his hand underneath the brake and won't let it depress all the way.
At a certain point, then it becomes an issue when Chucky's down there messing around. But when it starts, it's like you're just making this worse,
right? For sure.
But the thing is this is what I was talking about. It's like the movie's fun enough, and it keeps you going along that you're not really stopping to think about, well, why did this woman get hit in the head and then walk 20 feet to fall out of a window? Why did
Sure.
You're still on board with a lot of it.
Yeah. She wants to give this toy. She knows that Andy wants this toy for his birthday. And so she can't afford it because she works at, like a shopping mall. type of situation. She knows that Andy really wants this doll for his birthday, and he sees like a television show that's like a tie-in for it, and it's all he thinks about. Even dresses like him, which is cool and creepy and everything.
Yeah.
So she has to purchase the doll from a black market outside in an alleyway type of guy, just pushing a shopping cart, and he's like got contraband on him.
Oh, how much do you want for it?
$50.
10 and not a penny more.
30.
What are you kidding? That thing is not worth $30.
Look, take it or leave it. Somebody else will buy it.
I'll take it. Karen, it's too much money. No, it isn't. You have no idea how much Andy wants this doll. But we don't even know if the damn thing works.
There you go, lady. May it bring you and your kid a lot of joy.
Of course, that one is the one that happened to be the one that Brad Dourif put his soul into using voodoo magic. So
because he found it after the toy store blew up.
Right.
And yeah, it was a big deal for younger listeners. This was on the heels of in the 80s, there was this huge thing with Cabbage Patch Kids. With the Cabbage Patch Kids dolls were like, it was a thing. That was the toy of Christmas.
Literal Cabbage Patch riots.
Yeah.
You know?
Insane. But that was, so that kind of playing off that is nice. Well, that it doesn't underline that too much. Maybe in Don Mancini's original script, it might have focused a bit more on that.
Yeah.
But that feeling again with the mom of my son has been going through a lot. And like, I just don't want to disappoint him. Yeah. I'm just trying to give him a little bit of joy because it's his birthday and she gets him a different Good Guys, which is the brand of the whole thing, like a Good Guys tool set.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, it's not the doll though. And she's like, yeah, I can't afford the doll.
Right. Wait, and that was a smart change that Tom Holland made because in Mancini's original script, she was like a marketing executive for the Good Guys. And so that has its own cynicism in there, you know, much like makes me think of, you know, the modern day people that work at Facebook and stuff like that won't let their kids have social media.
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, they'll poison the rest of us with
sure. That's fine. That's your problem.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of switching it over to a mom who can't necessarily afford it and doesn't want to disappoint Andy.
Right. Because it's also that increases the sort of vulnerability of the characters. Because you have someone that's already like struggling and fighting this stuff. And then on top of that, they finally get a bite of that big brass ring and it's cursed.
It's a murderous ring
by a serial killer. Yeah. But at the same time, you can go, hey, this is a good excuse to always buy from the stores. Don't buy. This is before eBay.
Yeah. So, don't buy secondhand.
Buy all your Child's Play merch directly. Do not go to secondary markets.
I do really enjoy the fact that it's just called Good Guys. Yeah. You know, like it has this wholesomeness to it that's just very, very on the nose that I enjoy. Because what do? They like sit around and they build things together and it seems like it. Yeah. Because you see a little bit of an animated program for Good Guys and like this segment where there's like a live action Chucky, like a guy in a big suit talking. And hangs out in a tree house and they just go on little adventures. I mean, that was so much of Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s and early 90s were like, hey, buy these toys. Yeah. Here's a whole cartoon to sell you some toys. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And also Chucky was very much like, you know, the My Buddies at the time. Yes. I mean, you want an earworm for a commercial, look up one of those old commercials. Damn, I just got it stuck in my own head and I'm pissed.
I was going to say that's you walked into that one. Yeah.
Also Kid's sister. So I did read a funny, when you're looking up stuff about these movies, it's just like, I read it in a very solemn voice in my head, but it was a very straightforward sentence that said, my buddy never recovered from the Chucky debacle. It's just like, all right.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, but you made a creepy doll. That's not my problem. Right. But like this, as Don Mancini pointed out, like his script for Blood Buddies really predates My Buddy. Yeah. And certainly, I don't know if the design came directly from My Buddy, but there's the doll wearing overalls, similar size to Chucky. Mm-hmm. In fact, this was a story my mom told me that I always treasured. One of her friends from church. Okay, that's important. Yeah. From church. Saw it, like her kid was watching Child's Play, knew that he had a My Buddy doll, chucked it at him. Yeah. Just went to the room, got it, chucked it at this kid. Fantastic. You know, like Jesus would have done. Yes. Fantastic. It just scared the hell out of that kid.
Aw. But yeah, like the whole idea of children's marketing and kids like consumerism and stuff like that was kind of built in more heavily into the original script, but it still works in this one to me.
It's a lot more in the background. Same thing with like the economic stuff. It's all there.
Yeah.
Or I mean, and even Andy's himself, like as we mentioned, Don Mancini's script focused heavily on Andy being this child of divorce and the problems that can cause and lacking a father figure like that. That's all still there. Mm-hmm. That kid, by the way, we talk about all the performances being great. Alex Vincent is fantastic. Seems like a little kid. Doesn't seem like a little actor.
Yes.
Like the scenes where he's just like Chucky tells him to leave school and he just like gets on a train and goes to the bad part of town so Chucky can extract vengeance on a guy and act vengeance on a guy. This kid is navigating this terrifying adult world and no one cares. No one gives a shit about this kid.
Right.
I mean, the mom tries, but she can't be there for him. The doctors are, at some point they put him into an asylum because they think something's wrong with him. And the people in there are immediately just like, shut up, take a shot. I don't care. Like people love abandoning this child.
Yeah. Well, it was before it was when we were allowed to run free. You know, in the 80s and carry around 2-foot dolls with us to school. That was my thought. It was just like when she drops him off to school, it's just like, I wasn't allowed to take toys to school, But I do love the shot of another little boy running out of the school at the same time, also with the Chucky. I was
he's got one as well.
It is like kind of sweeping the nation just because they added that little detail in there.
Yeah. And that there are other ones. There are good guys that are good.
There you go.
They're not all Chuckies. Speaking of the 2-foot doll too, I love when the babysitter, when Maggie is getting them ready for bed.
Yeah.
And she just like manhandles Chucky. She like picks him by the arm and you're watching going, oh no. Right. like it's just a doll. Right. Like that's exactly how someone would treat a doll, but you're like, oh, you've done it now.
Well, also because
so screwed.
It looks Andy sized. So for a half second, you're like, was that the kid or the doll?
Yeah.
I
don't know which one to shoot.
Right. Yes. Got to talk about the first time Chucky comes to life because that's, I don't know. It's got to be the best scene in the movie to me. The big reveal, because so far they've done such a good job. And this was a Kirshner note of, hey, Tom Holland, you're showing the doll too much before this big reveal. The mom was going to toss him in the fireplace and he was going to come alive as he's on fire. But I think that they were smart in just kind of like getting to the point and like axing the fireplace right there, especially because the fireplace comes into the story later on.
Yeah.
But, just literally holding Chucky above her head and shaking him. And then all of a sudden his face animates. And of course he just comes right out the gate calling her a stupid bitch and a slut and all this kind of stuff. Like, it was very 80s, very 80s language here.
But Jason, Michael Myers don't say much. Freddy, always with the wisecracks, whatever. He's just whatever. This is just a pissed off little doll. Like he's just a mean SOB. And I kind of like that.
Right.
As you said, like there have been these hints at him. You've never seen Chucky directly. You've seen point of view shot from someone being small. You've seen the doll kind of move and like weird things happen. Like you see the head move or whatever, but you're not sure if that's just built into like this kind of animatronic Tenny Ruxpin ass doll. But this is the first time that, it's like, no, this is a thing. This is a living entity of some kind. They
had one version of the Chucky animatronic that was just called the Flailing Chucky. And so that was the one that you swapped in when you just needed all of his arms and legs to go crazy and react and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, if I was a doll, I'd be Flailing James for sure. Like that's all I would do.
just always like, fussing.
Just mad. I love the way he comes to life. She throws him on the ground and there's this very strange effect of him rolling underneath the couch. And that is another bit of like physics and movie magic that I don't quite understand. And there's something uncanny about it. Yeah. But I like that. It's better than just having Ed in the Chucky outfit rolling under a couch.
What they did is they got, and I forget who they credited this idea with. It might have been the cinematographer, Bill Butler.
Who shot Jaws?
Oh, really?
Yes. He shot Jaws and The Conversation.
Oh, my God.
pedigree.
Yeah, I mean, you got Brad Dourif, you got Chris Sarandon, you got Dinah Manoff. But the way they did that was they basically constructed a plank, like a close-up of that area, and they tilted it such that whatever you dropped on it would roll. And so they kind of, sort of threw the doll at an angle, and so when it would hit, it would just roll down onto the couch.
Right. And so then it does give it angle the camera to like match it too.
It's like when they do the rotating rooms or and so, yeah, it's sort of fixed to that. And so the doll rolls. And so it gives it this unnatural look that is somewhere between, you don't expect a doll to roll like that on a flat ground, but it's also not Ed Gale crawling around.
Right. Man, love that stuff.
And then, of course, she goes and looks under the couch or immediately like, what if I just stick my face right down here? Yep. That'll be a good.
Yeah, that's a horror movie trope that we want to see in that moment, because
you want to be able to sit there and go like, you idiot.
Yeah, you
what
idiot.
Are you doing?
Or ooh, is he going to knife her in the eyeball? Like, yeah, that's also what I want. What a great scene too. And like he bites her on the arm. And of course she has to show that to Chris Sarandon later on to be like, look, the doll bit me.
Like the doll has teeth. That is so creepy. Right. Like if you stop to think about it for a second that like this plastic thing that's just there all of a sudden has teeth and a movable jaw.
Right.
That's upsetting. That don't feel good.
Get the internet on that to make them get rid of the sonic teeth.
Yeah. They should have shown a previs of Chucky to the internet. That would have solved a lot of problems.
Exactly. I'm sure that's where the opinions would stop. Yeah. Then rightfully so, the state sort of steps in at one point and says, all right, there's something going on with this kid. I think we need to observe him for a little while. Not saying I'm on the side of the state taking away a child from a mom, but there's a little bit of a precedent here for this kid being perhaps a little wacko. This is fine. There's
been some deaths, and the kid is talking about how his doll is real, and like, yeah, sure, kids have an active imagination, but he's also saying some weird stuff.
Mommy, he's doing it on purpose. He told me never to tell about him or he'd kill me.
Mrs. Barkley, my name is Dr. Ardmore. I'm from County General. I've seen more than enough. Maybe Andy should spend a couple of days with us.
He's held in this psychiatric ward for a little while. Of course, Chucky goes to see him. He ends up like sneaking out of the room. Chucky follows him. And there's this terrible bit where Chucky is attacking Andy for a little while. And Chucky is Andy's walking backwards. And he's starting to sob a little bit. And evidently Tom Holland was just trying to get him into the fear moment and said like, hey, just think about your parents dying. Yeah.
That's
okay.
That's tough. I mean, it's one of those things that how do you direct a child like that? How do you get that you want? I have heard some different horror stories from other directors about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Getting the performance that you want from a kid and it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, film lives forever. Am I right?
Right. Yeah. Like how do you justify that? How do you ride that without just being like, I'm going to psychologically abuse this kid for a long time to get what I want. Yeah. So that was not great. How you get avoid. Apparently the kid has turned out great. He seems all right.
And for what it's worth too, like on the first few days, they Holland took the kid and Kirshner, they showed him how the puppetry worked, and they showed him how it took like 3 people to control the face and like how all of the mechanisms were going to work. And he said like, oh, I thought it was just kind of neat. Like I enjoyed that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I saw a clip of him he was either some behind the scenes footage or he was at some con or something where he was like, people ask you how I was scared of the doll. Well, I tell them they would say cut and the doll would stop trying to kill me. So no.
Right.
Like that. I kind of figured out pretty early on that was it.
Safe. Yeah.
But I was afraid of everything as a kid. So, he's braver than I am to this day. Yeah. So when Andy gets taken by the state, Chucky is after him because Chucky learns that, and this is real dumb, but like the only way he'll escape being a doll, he's becoming more human being in the doll. He's been shot by Chris Sarandon and he's bleeding and it hurts. And the longer he stays in the doll, the more human the doll is going to become until he's trapped there. What he needs to do is
you have to transfer your soul out of the doll into that of the first human being you revealed your true self to.
You mean the first person I let in on the fact that I was really alive? I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. The first person I let in on my little secret was a 6-year-old kid.
Which is real sweaty.
Yeah.
Like that's okay.
Right.
But he's like, hey, great. It's a 6-year-old. I know exactly where to go get this kid. He says, I have a date with a 6-year-old, which you could say. Oh. And it just meant that you were going to go steal his soul. Not anything weird.
Right. Just soul stealing.
So yeah, he follows him to the asylum. This is again a scene that should not work, but it still works for me. When Andy is being like, he knows Chucky's there and he's freaking out, and the doctor comes and gets him. He's like, well, we got to give you a shot to calm you down. Takes him to this examination room. Chucky attacks the doctor, stabs him in the leg. Doctor goes down, and then Chucky like puts a hat on him, puts a little like shock, shock treatment hat on him. That you just take it off. And I hate to be CinemaSins about it, but like the guys like, take it off. Right. But Chucky starts shocking him. If it was cut maybe a little tighter and sell a little bit more, there wasn't that much time, but it still works and it's great. And it's probably the goriest kill in the entire movie. And it's not even that bad, but he just starts shocking him and his face starts getting all charred and his eyes and teeth are bleeding.
Right.
That was pretty great.
Yeah. By this point, everybody's on board that this is a killer doll. I will say that even though I liked it, the last 20 minutes of this movie do feel a little run on because they keep Chucky just will not die. And
will not die. Yeah.
By the time he gets set on fire, and he's wandering around, all that looks great. And of course it reminds me of the Terminator, because you've got some like scarring and some burnt up, skin, and you've got the skeleton face reveal and everything. But it takes him a long time to dispense with Chucky in this.
Yeah. I think that actually they lifted that from the Terminator, this idea of he's getting the crap kicked out of him, but he still keeps coming.
Right.
And that when his face gets melted, some of that plastic almost looks like worms coming out of his skull.
Right.
It's great. But there was that element to it, the Terminator element to it, but also Tom Holland wanted there to not be a sequel. He was like, funny. I want to destroy this doll.
That's funny.
So we're not caught up doing sequels like that. Just this thing gets blown away.
Yeah, but come on, Tom.
By this point, by 1988, you got to figure it does not matter.
It does not
matter.
They're
going to find a way to have this come back.
Right. Again, Tom Holland, great director, not a slasher guy. He doesn't understand that it doesn't matter.
It's going to happen. But yeah, because they end up burning him. Like Andy burns Chucky they have a great little exchange, and Andy sets fire to Chucky in the fireplace.
Andy, no, please. We're friends to the end. Remember?
This is the end, friend.
Boy, that doll is real flammable though. Yeah. That does not seem safe for kids to have. But so then after Chucky gets burnt, then he's coming after Andy. She shoots him a bunch, like shoots his head off. And then later when this other cop shows up, played by Tommy Swerdlow, who wrote Cool Runnings. So another
fantastic.
Yeah. Just chock full of high caliber people.
Oh man. Yeah.
But she shoots the doll's to pieces. Then later that guy shows up. And the doll the body comes out of the vent to choke him while the head is still there, separate. And then they shoot the head, or they shoot the body again. They finally are able to kill it. It takes forever, but I do like that. It's hand wavy, but I do think it's still effective. Where after they blow away the doll, because of course, like you said, no one believes that the doll could do this.
You believe me now? Yeah. But who's gonna believe me?
We're going to not tell anyone about this.
Sure.
You're safe. This is done. I believe you. You're all cleared. I can't tell anyone.
This stops. This does not go in the official report.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're all going back to that hospital earlier. Yeah. I do like when they shoot the doll, that blood squirts out the back of him. So we get a little bit of that original idea back in the doll being filled with blood, but also because the doll is becoming more and more human looking.
And I think they were smart in how much they used the like abuse a puppet kind of thing. Like in Puppet Master, they're throwing dolls all over the place.
Yes.
But if you do that too much, it really kind of diminishes the power that they might have.
Sure.
Because Puppet Master also has an ability, there's a bunch of them, which is why I don't think Chucky counts as a rascal. He's a little guy, but I don't think he's up to chaos at this point anyway. Not up to chaos, and there's not enough of him.
That's a good call. I would agree.
We'll see. It might get a little bit more rascally, but this first one definitely not a rascal.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
because you in theory you could. Like, there's no indication that he has necessarily super strength, something like that. Obviously, he's able to choke Chris Sarandon and hit that woman with a hammer, but like, you could probably just pick him up.
Yeah.
You know, she struggles with him because he's, like a toddler, but when they do, but like when she shoots him, when Chris Sarandon shoots him that one time, he goes flying back, or when she shoots him, it goes spinning around. That's great. It's like, hell yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see this little shit get pushed around.
Exactly. Yeah. And the movie ends on I love a freeze frame ending, and it ends on Andy just peering back through the door.
Yeah.
On the head.
Roger Ebert called that like a clever way to be like, oh, we left the door open for a sequel. But really, to me, it feels like the end of the final chapter, Friday the 13th, part 4. You get the close up of Tommy where it's like, this isn't good. Nothing good is coming of this. Like, that kid is fucked up forever. And like,
very true. Yeah.
I know he shows up in the later movies, so we'll see his journey. But in that moment there, it's like, you have this kid that was just like desperate for connection, desperate for something in his life. And it shows up and it tries to kill him, and they had to kill him. Then it got taken away from his mom and put in a hospital because of it. No one was believing him.
Totally.
So just like, his childhood is over.
Yes.
In that moment. And he's just looking back at this doll like, shit.
Right.
Yeah. I guess I got to get a job now.
Right. It's the Chucky to job pipeline here.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, let's honor our few dead. Charles Lee Ray, played by Brad Dourif, shot in the leg and chest by cop. Maggie Patterson, played by Dinah Manoff, hit with hammer, stumbled out of window, fell to street. Eddie Caputo, played by Neil Guintoli, exploded in house. Dr. Death, played by Raymond Oliver, arms and legs broken by voodoo doll, stabbed by Chucky. Dr. Ardmore, played by Jack Colvin, shocked to death by shock treatment helmet. Yeah, so that's Chucky. That's Child's Play. It's funny. We have to remember these movies are called Child's Play, not
until it becomes Chucky.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for the next few. Like you said at the top, like, this is still kind of silly, but it's definitely like darker and a little bit more serious than where it goes. I don't really remember where it takes the big turn. I think that there's like a little bit of a dividing line between the fourth and the fifth ones, but I don't really recall, like once you get into Bride and Seed and Cult and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think once they become the Chucky movies, it gets a lot sillier.
Okay.
But they're still, it's a lot more sort of like campy and wink, wink meta, particularly when Jennifer Tilly gets involved as Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah.
I recall them being a lot of fun. So yeah, it'll be a fun journey to take. I like the second one too. I remember enjoying that one, but it's been a while. But yeah, this was a lot more serious and more of just like a straight up thriller than I expected.
Right. Also, as we go through these movies over on Patreon, we always try to pair what we're doing on the main feed somehow thematically. So we're going to be taking a look at different doll-oriented type of movies. We're going to leave out Puppet Master because, when we're scraping the bottom of the barrel in year 20 of this podcast, we might finally do like 15 Puppet Master movies or so. But
so after this,
yeah. Right. But there's some good ones to be examined, like Stuart Gordon's Dolls. There's I know we were talking about it and I've already forgotten it, like that quiet one, the little dummy guy.
Dead Silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no shortage of killer puppet movies, but then there's some killer doll movies too.
Yeah.
And you got the I also hoping to check out at some point Herencia Diabolica, the Mexican Child's Play, Mexican version of Child's Play.
We're definitely going to watch that.
Yeah, that one looks like it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will have to.
I probably said it very bad.
Differentiate doll versus marionette. Or doll versus puppet.
Doll versus puppet, yeah.
That is a major
Talking Tina
issue.
Versus Scarface from Batman, like
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should also do Talkin' Tina, which was a Twilight Zone episode from like the 60s that was one of the inspirations for Child's Play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to check out more doll horror over on our Patreon, check us out there. Throw us a few bucks and you get more of John and I talking about creepy dolls and puppets and marionettes and stuff for the next several months.
Yeah. And all the old stuff that we've done, all the creepy old stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, creepy old stuff. And, for past franchises, we talked about all kinds of Clive Barker stuff when we were doing Hellraiser. And, when we were doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we got into other weird, like farm cannibalistic type of movies,
Yeah, we did, rip-offs of those. And yeah.
All kinds of stuff over there on the Patreon if you want to check that out.
And if there's anything you want us specifically to talk about on the Patreon, let us know.
There you go. It would help if requests. You were a patron for us to take that seriously. But
can you guys talk about it? And I'll just imagine what you said.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's good enough for me.
Right. But yeah, drop us a line if you're on our Patreon page if you got a few ideas on what we should cover over there for the Chucky series. So I guess throw in that DVD of Child's Play 2, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks. Good night.
Good night.
This has been a Caretaker Press production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at thismayhurtabitpod and email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. Give us a 5-star review over on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.